Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer, and as of time of recording, I just hit about Trailblaze level 20. It's 12 hours into launch so far, and we're going to dive deep in terms of what exactly we want to do to progress from level 1, Trailblaze level 1 to Trailblaze level 20 as efficiently as we can. Now, first things first, I guess the biggest question that most of us have is, where exactly should we spend our Trailblaze energy? And currently, as of if you are at level 20, under Trailblaze 20, haven't done the first world quest, then you will actually only have these three options available. I would say that all of them are equally important in terms of the usage, and all of them give a little bit of credits. They're like 500 credits each time you run these other two, and this one is like 9,500 at the first tier ones. But really, I do think that if you want to just like burn your energy for the day, personally, I would invest more in the credits because credits is universal, and towards the later part of the game, you will realize that because they are used for almost every single thing, you run out of credits very quickly. That is also why another reason why they also put it here. And as you can see, like 9,500 to 12,500, it's only a bump of like 3,000 credits in terms of the next tier, which is like a Trailblaze level 20 kind of tier. So you are missing maybe like 20-30%, but it's still a bulk of the resource that you actually need. But either way, if like whatever you are missing out, you should just farm that tier. And what's more important is, what are you missing out? That's the question. Most of us will have a surplus of credits in the beginning, but it diminishes very quickly. So now let's go into like what I'm focusing on, like to get to level 20 along the way. And what you want to do actually is to mainly level your characters up to as high as you can. Firstly, it goes to level 20, and after like Trailblaze 15, it goes to level 30. So you want to get your main 4 teams, your 4 characters here up to level 40, or 20 first, then 30, then 40, and that should be your number 1 priority. So as you can see here, I have a free-to-play team comp of Danheng, Asta, Natasha, as well as Physical MC. I'm using this 4 team, and I've cleared all the content up to this point without much problem at all so far, and I highly recommend it, as I've talked about in like my free-to-play build guide videos, team composition videos rather, on the channel already. If you guys want to add like more 5 stars, for example, maybe you have Zila here, or maybe you have Bailu or any other character, go and check out guides on the channel. I've already done it, but this main account of mine, I just want to clear everything free-to-play to make more content for you guys as well. That is also why I have them at level 1. I'm not going to be using them because it's like a cheat code. This is something like a Nuzlocke challenge for me, so to speak, so I can try to clear the game as using pure free-to-play units and see how I can actually challenge myself as well. So okay, so that's mainly the levels. The next thing, like the second priority after talking about the levels, is you want to actually level your light cones. And we're also going to be talking about what light cones you can consider. I know here I have a 4-star light cones already. Before this, I was actually just using this collapsing sky. You will get this later on as you clear some story, and you can just switch to it. I don't think it's like super good, but don't forget that probably most of us might not stay on physical MC for a very long time. Maybe you will switch over to fire MC later on, but getting this high amounts of levels, and this effect is generally a bit neutral in terms of like who can use it. You could always put in a hook later on for in terms of a destruction character that can utilize burning. So I don't really mind leveling this up. I don't say it's like a huge waste. But yeah, previously I was just using Collapsing Sky, the one that they allocated. So Danheng, I'm now using only Silence Remain, but before this, I was actually using this unicorn horse-like thing, arrows, for the longest time. And the reason for that is because it gives me 24% crit rate. And for those of you who want to know why does crit rate matter more than like the 4-star stat on him, it's mainly because if you look at his ultimate ability here, is when the enemy is slowed, he does more damage in terms of multiplier, and in terms of his skill, when he uses his skill, he will actually slow a target when there's a crit being done as well. This allows him to proc his slow more on the bosses. By slowing the enemies, you also like indirectly speed up your whole team. So don't think of it as like a 3-star. You think of it as like him also being a little bit more supportive by sacrificing a little bit of damage. For Asta, rather, I'm sticking with Chorus all the way, a Harmony Light Cone. It just gives very, very good stats in terms of attack to all allies. She doesn't need the stat of a 4-star Light Cone because she doesn't really do significantly a lot of damage in terms of overall team contribution. In terms of Natasha, I'm running post-op conversation, but actually I wasn't running this for most of the time. I was actually running this one here, the Fine Fruit. And the reason why I was running Fine Fruit is in PvE content is very different from from boss fighting or like clearing Memory of Chaos, like very hard domains, because you are going through and you're running through many mobs very quickly. So at the start of the battle means every single encounter you're just generating energy for yourself and your whole team as you go through the battle, and this is like super efficient in the early game, especially when you just want to like blaze through content, because she will constantly have like her burst ready, and the whole team will also be able to have a lot of their bursts ready, especially when you don't have a lot of like energy restoration and gear early on. This does mitigate a lot of that, and as you can see, I only have it at like level 1, and it still added quite a lot of value. You want to actually prioritize as much as you can the light cones as well as the levels on the character. So those two are like my highest two priorities. My damage dealers first have the priority of resources, and then I'll trickle it down whenever I have excess resources. It goes down to the supports as well, because they are mainly used for like the passive effects or some buff that they have. I think the next priority that everyone has on their mind, which is like priority number 3, will be the relics. And relic, what I'm relying on, and basically some of you might notice that at below like Trailblaze level 20, your only resource of these relics are actually coming from chests. So if you don't explore the map, you don't like open chests, do quests, you won't be able to get much relic EXP. So as you can see here, I just like consolidated my position. So let me just show you. Out of all of the gear that I have, I only have 4 left. So I picked the best 4 out of all of the junk that we keep getting along the way, and I just consolidate to become the best 4. You get this healer set from one of the questers as you go along, in terms of like I think the journal, some quest that you finish, you'll be able to collect this. So this is free as well. I'm really just consolidating my position in terms of the overall gear and min-maxing in terms of the efficiency of my account, putting all the resources into just 4 times 4 worth of relic gear as well. This allows my characters to do as much as they can with the limited resources that I have as well. I think a lot of people might be worried that what if you invest in your relics and, for example, later on you need to roll it? Is it like wasted EXP? I think yes, you might lose perhaps some relic gear EXP later on when you roll it up, but I think the loss in terms of the damage early on and that very small amounts of EXP, we are talking about very little in terms of like levels +0 all the way to +9 or +6. Most of us will be at +6. It's not really a lot in the grand scheme of things in terms of like the absolute amount. If you look at it in a percentage amount, it might be a lot. I haven't done the calculation in terms of the losses when you throw it up, but it's definitely worth it to help make your progression much smoother, and you can clear content way quicker as well. It saves you a lot of time, which is something that is very important as well as gamers even. Basically, for like the main stat for all of them, I try to focus on attack and crit as much as I can for Dan Heng. That's why I always try to like give my damage dealers the blue gear whenever I get them from a chest, and I level them as high as I can. And also, for example, if I see the chest plate here, I'm actually giving crit rate to Dan Heng as well as a crit rate here to physical main MC. I just wanted them to do a little bit more damage. I don't think I need to give crit rate to physical MC because her damages are very like large instance, and the small amounts of crit rate here might not make a difference. I rather actually like go attack. It might be more efficient, but whatever it is, it's a small inefficiency here on my part. But I think that going attack in the early game is much better than going crit. But the only reason why Dan Heng needs crit more, as mentioned previously also with the arrows gear, is because he really appreciates in terms of the slowing of enemies when he has it. And his skill is like multi-instance, so you don't need the full 100% to proc it reliably. He actually has a multiple instance hit, which means that as long as he crits 1 in like those 3 hits, I think, then it's good enough to go already. In terms of boots, if you have a speed boot, make sure you keep it. Speed boots are super important in the game. I will even use this green boot all the way even until I get like purple relics and I can farm relics. I won't change this away, and because speed boots can always be passed down to your supports later on. For example, if Dan Heng gets a better boot, you can always just shift this speed boot to maybe Asta or Natasha to allow them to move faster, especially if it's like Musketeer of the Wild Weed, or even, for example, this break set over here, the Thief of Shooting Meteor. You could give it to Asta, who uses the break damage and that she doesn't mind that speed as well. So always keep like your speed gear. I think that is like super important to know, because it really makes quite a bit of difference, especially later on. It might not seem a lot now, but later on when you want to speed tune your units, in terms of like, for example, if you go into the main menu here and you just see the stats, right? Each of them have like a particular speed, and this determines like who goes first. So sometimes, for example, if you want your buffer to go first before your attackers, like if I wanted Esta to maybe buff up in terms of using her skill first, and she's the slowest character, then you will realize that all your characters act already, then after that you get your buffs, which is very, very inefficient. So speed tuning is something that will be done, I would say around like Trailblaze 20 to 30. So those are like some considerations I'm thinking about in terms of the gear so far. In terms of, I guess now what's left to talk about is the supports as well as what main stat and what combination am I using. So for supports is the other way around. Like Natasha, I'm focusing purely on like the flat stats, and all of them I'm focusing purely on like more on the flat stats rather than percentage stats. But for Natasha in particular, I'm going for HP stats. So as you can see here, I'm leveling a little bit on the boots. I'm leveling, I just left this as like the defense because I got it as defense, so I left it as 0. Doesn't matter, I don't want to double down in a stat that is inefficient in terms of their scaling. And as you can see, like the glove I also left it at 0. Don't need her to do too much damage, so I'm allocating resources in the right place as well. And even in this hair clip here, because it's a flat stat, so it's actually very, very significant in terms of a proportion of the total HP. You see here it's like 281, whereas this is like 80 less if it's like level 6. And in the grand scheme of things, 80 is actually a pretty significant proportion of overall HP. It's not negligible at all. And that's why I focus on flat stats. The same thing for attack, flat attack stats is also very, very significant, especially when a lot of them have very low attack, absolute attack in the early game. And that's largely due to their level being very low, as well as their light cone level being very low. That's why flat stats are higher priority than percentage stats early on. I know it's a lot to take in, it's a lot of mouthful, but I just want to impart as much information as I can to you guys. If you're finding value in this video so far, do give it a like and subscribe. I'll be definitely doing more in the future as well, so do encourage me to make more content too. So that's it for these characters. And in terms of their relic, their main stats, Esta is like the most flexible. You can grow her a bit more tanky, a bit more attack. I would say she's the lowest priority out of the 4 characters in terms of getting resources, contributing resources to like her gear early on. I'm mainly just like giving her a bit more attack and hand-me-downs. This was like, I think one of my other characters, when they were using their green gear, they just passed it on so that I don't get that recycling into a 4-star wastage. I just left it as it is, and don't care about like substats at all. Substats totally don't matter at all. If it rolls everything flat defense, I'm also okay with it. You don't want to be too particular early on, as we don't really have much choices also in terms of what we roll. Even if it rolls very, very good substats, I won't really be bothered by it, because this gear is going to change very significantly once we can start choosing and farming relic domains. I will also talk a bit more about which relic domain I have my eyes on. I think there's a couple that is quite abusable as well in terms of these kind of efficiency tips as well. So other than that, in terms of tracers, they will always recommend you, I think you start off with this one. Will be your first level. Just level accordingly. And if you are a damage dealer, make sure you gear up them completely. And if you are a support, just go with the stuff that matters in terms of what you're focusing on. Like Esta is supportive buffs, so just add on like the supportive buffs, for example, her E as well as her speed here. With a little bit more buffs, and just focus on those if you are running low on resources. Natasha, you can skip the auto attacks, just go for more heals and stuff like that. Pretty straightforward stuff in terms of the build. So if you want to get to Trailblaze 20 in the first day, like you want to rush or speed run, so to speak, you have to clear content in terms of the quest lines that we get. Like every time, for example, they have this like message appearing over here that someone needs your attention, do those. Make sure you finish those quests as well. And once you do those, you will get a lot of free Trailblaze levels as well. And after you finish all those, you do the main story. It does take your time, enjoy the storyline, don't have to rush like me. But by the time you get to here, in terms of Trailblaze level 20, these are the stuff that you will have factored in. And if you watched the video to this point, you probably found it pretty helpful. Do like and subscribe for more of such future content, and I do think that these 2 videos right here will be very useful for you in your journey ahead as well. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.